Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the feat Adept of the White Robes.
No, I got it.
No.
I'm in black and blue today. This is Shadow the Dragon Queen, a book that came out that has a bunch of Dragonlance stuff. And it has feats from the Dragonlance setting-ish, but like they're also perfectly reasonable feats. This one has a prerequisite of Initiative High Sorcery, and that is a feat that is available to anyone that has the Initiative High Sorcery background, which I wouldn't recommend to non-Dragonlance settings because it's busto, or to a Sorcerer or Wizard, and I would say that's fine with those classes. This also has a little caveat of you need to have picked the Solinari, I think. Yes. The Solinari specific spells, or you might be able to mix and match. I don't remember exactly. But there are different spells that you have to take for the Initiative High Sorcery that will then be relatively related to the Adept of the White Robes. In any case.
All right, so yeah, I guess you have to choose a moon when you pick when you get the Initiative High Sorcery.
Yes.
And so if you can only choose this one, you can only get this feat if you chose the moon Solinari. That's how I read it.
I would agree. I don't think has because that's not the prerequisites. I don't know if that's true. You might be able to like technically do the other things, but I'll just read the feat now. Okay. So this is prerequisites 4th level, the Initiative High Sorcery feat. It doesn't say anything else about having a specific moon chosen. It then says you choose the moon Solinari to influence your magic, but it doesn't mean like
you chose.
Oh, there's not an O there. We figured it out, yeah. Bob. This definitely like that. It has the prerequisite. Sure, why not? You chose the moon Solinari to represent your magic in the oath, and your oath to use magic to make the world a better place, and has been recognized by the Order of the White Robes, granting you benefits. Protected magic. You learn a 2nd level spell of your choice. 2nd level has to be Abjuration or Divination. You can use this feat's 2nd level spell without a spell slot, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast it again this way. You can also use the spell with slots of appropriate level. So if you're a sorcerer, you've got 5th level, you got 2nd level slots, you can use protective magic's Abjuration or Divination spell that you took at 2nd level that is a 2nd level slot with your 2nd level spell slots. And then it uses the ability modifier that you picked whenever you got Initiative High Sorcery, which is either Charisma, Inter, Wiz, and you're always taking Inter Charisma because that's Sorcerer and Wizard respectively. Right. And the final thing you get, other than a free 2nd level spell, which is already just pretty great, is Protective Ward. Whenever a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to expend a spell slot and weave protected magic around the target. Roll a number of D6 is equal to the level of the spell slot expended, and reduce the damage the target takes by a total reduced on those dice plus your spellcasting ability modifier. So if you spend a 3rd level spell, you reduce incoming damage as a reaction by 3d6, which is neat.
Plus your spellcasting modifier.
Plus one. So yeah, we'll say, even though it is not in the prerequisites, this requires you have the Solinari moon, which means you have picked 2 from the worst spell list of, that's not true, that's Shield, it's one of the better ones. Comprehend Language, Detect Evil and Good, Protection from Evil and Good, and Shield. So you already have 2 of those spells at your disposal. And now you have access to a Abjuration or Degradation spell of your choice, and then this other kind of like new spell feature thing where you can spend spell slots to do the reaction, which I think is fine in the lower tiers and pretty bad in the upper tiers. It still can be like usable in the upper tiers though, so I don't know where you land on this.
I mean, if it's a crushing blow that's going to kill your friend, then you'll be happy you have that, even in the upper tiers.
I think another nice thing, right, is being able to reduce damage to 0 means this can protect your concentration pretty easily, so you don't get like randomly nudged for 5. You can be like, I'm just gonna send those spells on and not worry about it. That's kind of convenient. Any damage that's like your mod, 1 plus your mod is a way you can just say its 1st level spell slot mitigates all that damage, and not taking damage means you're not making concentration check. So that's like genuinely quite useful, I think. So it's you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage. That can't be you. Yeah. That's great. You can also pick your cleric's concentration, your bard's concentration, all that fun stuff. All that, big fan of. 2nd level spells for Abjuration or Divination is the next like kind of big question as determining how good this is.
Now, before you go on, sure. This is from any spell list, correct?
Any Abjuration or Divination spell, right? Agnostic of list.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of all the Abjuration and Divination spells. I don't know. Anything jump out to you?
I also don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of them all, but I do have D&D Beyond, and when I say I have D&D Beyond, I mean I use it for free. I have not subscribed to it. I don't think I will. Anyway, your options in the 2nd level department are like aid. You've got Arcane Lock, which doesn't seem great.
Skip.
Beast
Yeah.
Sense. I don't know most of these, to be honest. There's like,
Is there anything else? Just aid and Arcane Lock and Beast Sense?
Beast Sense. Detect Thoughts is what I'm a pretty big fan of.
Uh,
Find Traps is an option.
oh God.
Let me adjust my filter so I can just see second level spells. Yeah, I think that's ultimately where I'm like, is this that good? I think if you want Detect Thoughts, that's my first, like, this is pretty fine. Lesser Restoration isn't great. Mind Spike is decent. If you want a free, like, decent damage spell, I don't hate Mind Spike. For free specifically, like, that seems fine.
Yeah.
Warding Bond is a cute one, but like, you're a sorcerer wizard, so you really don't want to be taking damage, but you do have the cute bit where you can be like, protect them with your spells that you've warded bonded, which feels like you're wasting the warding bond, but like, it's a thing you can do technically. So that's kind of, if you want to play the protector sorcerer wizard, like, that's something, I guess. Yeah, most of these are kind of booty.
All right. Was that it? No, what?
I missed a very important major one. Pass Without Trace is a abjuration spell.
Okay.
That's a pretty excellent one too.
All right, so we can get something good out of this.
I think there's like 3 decent options.
Yeah, the biggest question was, all right, you get the spell and you get this protective ward feature. Both of those combined, does that make this a good feat? And I think I think with both of those, if you find a spell you like, Pass Without Trace, perhaps, then yeah, that bumps it up to good enough in my book.
I think good enough, unfortunately, doesn't really cut it in this day and age, though, because you have 2 really notable feats, and that's Fey Touched and Shadow Touched. And both those give a first level spell and a second level spell. So, like, you don't get the dice reduction reaction feature, which is quite good. You would instead get a first level spell of your choice from a specific spell list and invisibility and Misty Step. So, like, those are both. I think I would rate both of those higher on average than I would rate Pass Without Trace, as far as a spell I would want a free use of on my character sheet just to have around. Those are both, I think, very, very good. Those also both come with an ability score improvement, so they're both bumping up your spellcasting mod where this isn't. They also, like, this is a prerequisite, so, like, do you build towards this? I don't.
If you've got a build in mind that involves this, then yes.
Otherwise,
like
maybe you're hard committed to Warding Bond or something, where you want to make the Warding Bond character, and this is how you get it. I could see that maybe being a thing.
Maybe.
I don't love it.
I do. I mean, I think you're gonna use the protective ward quite a bit.
I don't know how true that is. I think it costs a spell slot.
Yeah.
It is a reaction, which is really great. You're a sorcerer wizard, so you have silvery barbs, you have shield, you have absorb elements. You got a decent selection already of reaction-based spells, but they all cost only first levels. So if you wanted like second or third level options, the floor of removing menial damage from challenging concentration is quite good. I think maybe you'd go this route if you have specifically a concentration-based build that you really want to protect. And then I have to say, okay, well, this is better than Warcaster. And I'm like, it maybe goes into the same sheet as the character that takes Warcaster, but those characters also don't get that many feats because they're full casters, right? Your clerics are sorcerers, so I think it's a little bit tough. It's not bad by any stretch. I think this is reasonable, especially because it builds out of the initiative high sorcerer that gives you shield, which is just great. I just don't know, like, beyond that, if this is something I'm super excited to pick up.
I'm not super excited, but I could be lured toward it, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree.
If this was in the van, on the windowless van, I might go looking for this candy.
A white robed figure throws some candy out the window, and you're like, "That's my van."
Just saying, I'm thinking, the concentration thing is cool, but just regular damage effects too. That I mean, it's versatile. You can use it on yourself, use it on a friend. Anytime somebody looks like, oh, that damage might kill them, you got this in your back pocket. It costs a spell slot, but you got slots to burn, and you get to choose what level slot. I don't want to waste one of my fireballs. I'll bump it down or bump it up a little bit.
I think this will be best against saves, as Absorb Elements kind of is the reaction spell you take for saves because it deals with like breath attacks and deals with fireball, and it has and mitigates a lot of damage that way. This is something you do to say, okay, I'm going to take like less poison damage here. I'm going to take less of X, Y, or Z damage, knowing it's going to happen in the first place. I think the fact that all these reaction spells exist to protect yourself makes it a lot. If this were on Cleric or Druid, I'd be way more about it. Them having a reaction like this would be really excellent. This honestly not being in Cleric is kind of a bummer to me. This seems like it's a Cleric home run as far as utility that a Cleric really wants to have. It being gated to Sorcerer Wizard is like, they already do have the best reaction options in the game, and they do overlap with this quite a bit. Granted, they are all self, this is team-based, but I think they are on average a little bit better than this. Like, I think I'd rather, if I'm going to be separating attack, I think I'd rather have shield to attempt to mitigate that attack in its entirety and also mitigate all the damage for a round and have it also only cost a first level spell slot, guaranteed. This is, sometimes you have to sink more damage in, to sink higher slots into it to get the effects you really want to mitigate the damage outright. It's a little bit, you might be able to get more consistency out of it because, you know, maybe something rolls like a 28 to hit you and your shield just still doesn't get you there. I think I would rather lean towards shield and silvery barbs. And
well, I mean, don't you already have shield because you got the so
I think that makes this worse, right? Because you already have a comparative option that you're fine using your reaction with. You don't need
but that's only for yourself.
Yeah,
you can help out the Cleric with their concentration with this.
You can.
Yeah, you sound really selfish.
It's D&D characters and they tend to be more selfish, right? D&D characters are built to do their thing. We talked about this when we talked about party composition building and why protection isn't that great and why interception tends to be pretty lackluster. And the end of the day is people build their own things and sometimes say, party be damned, I'm going to go off and do my own thing, right? I'm going to be the rogue sneaking into the back line and getting a stabby, even if it guarantees I die because I'm not standing next to the paladin, right? Those are the kinds of things that occur in D&D sometimes, and it can be hard to sort of keep people spaced out appropriately and committing resources to their buddies. That's why I like Bard a lot, is because Bard kind of has to commit their resources to their buddies. Their Bardic Inspiration cannot go on themselves unless you get like Soul Dive or something, because then you could just say, I need to use this to get value out of my character, have a bonus, have a help. This, I think most of the time is going to end up wanting to say, well, I'd rather just have this for myself or have Silvery Barbs to defend an ally that also defends myself in a more powerful way than this, I think. I'd rather have if you already have a suite of defensive options, this is probably overkill. And because like I don't foresee taking this instead of shield, and I don't know if it's worth it alongside of shield, just for the niche upside of helping my friends out, where I could just like further my build more. I could make more powerful things happen by attaching a free Misty Step to my character, attaching a free invisibility to my character.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's going to depend on the person.
Absolutely. This is entirely personal preference. I think the defensive role is very good, especially if you want to do the druid's going to keep that conjure animals up. Nothing is taking these owls away from us, right? That's going to be a real boon to say, we need this concentration effect to live. Adept of the White Robes is going to make that happen. That's a pretty cool fantasy, and it does have a big pool of resources to play around with. There are a lot of cool decisions to make. They make it genuinely an interesting feat. I think there's a lot to talk about here, which makes it, at the very minimum, something that people can definitely consider.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things. It's a nice thing about it is that you're going to use it in different ways. It's going to feel like a suite of features rather than just like one thing that you do again and again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it being stable to a pass without trace or a detect thoughts or a aid. Even aid is probably, I can envision a lot of characters that want to take aid and just want everyone gets a free 5 HP. This kind of feat kind of reads, everyone gets a free 5 HP if you want it to, alongside the reaction that's also attached to it. That's not nothing.
Yeah.
This is a great, I think if you're playing a character that wants to be more defensive and has a really deep well of resources that they're not burning through regularly, this is probably a great place to put a lot of those resources for free.
I agree. All right. Well, you got a rating for this one?
It's comparing well. It's not comparing well. It's comparing fine against the known very good feats that are like Shadow Touch and Fey Touch. So I think this is probably a 4. This does give you a free second level spell that you can use your spell slots on. This does give you a really solid reaction, and both those things making it okay. I can envision this being a powerful pain in the butt thing for a DM to deal with, especially if a character's like got a really back-breaking concentration effect that the DM just can't get it rid of because they can just spend 5th level spell slots to shrug off damage to keep the concentration going. In those worlds, I can see this character being really obnoxious, but it's not unmanageable, and it's definitely not breaking the game in half so much that like I still don't know how many characters I'm willing to dedicate 2 feats to get this effect. It seems still like a pretty tall cost. especially given, again, the spellcasters get less ASIs than like the martial classes do, so you got a little bit less room to play with.
Yeah, that I'm going to agree with your 4. It does take, you got to devote 2 feet to this because you have to get Initiative High Sorcery first. But I'm looking at what that did.
It gives you 2 first level spell slots to use on free spells, which is pretty sweet. So you get like a first level free caster shield and a first level free caster comprehend language, and then you can do that once per long rest, and also can just cast them, which is good. Yeah, that's a great feat.
Yeah, so that cost to me, if you're gonna build toward this, fine. Yeah, if you're not, then you probably didn't pick Initiative High Sorcery anyway.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good one. 4 sounds about right, and that's that. All right.
I even think like it should stand out that like all the spells I was comparing this to were like 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, banger after banger after banger, like Shield, Absorb Elements, all of these spells that I'm a huge proponent of, Silvery Barbs. I'm like, this is close to those, and gives you a 2nd level spell. That's, I think, a testament to how good this is. Even though it doesn't sound like I'm like, this is amazing, this is very powerful.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was Adept of the White Robes. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let us know what you think of this feat down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.